Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Entrepreneurs Lounge, the show that highlights success stories of under 40 young Kenyan entrepreneurs who are making it in their different business ventures. We're currently shooting a dotage home and exclusive furniture, home of everything and all your furniture needs. Now, on the first episode today, my very first guest is Ruben Kingori, former Tony Elumelu Fellow, finalist Business Daily's Top 40 Under 40, founding partner of Aggrandize Africa Group, whose job is to change the narrative around the continent in very creative ways. You're very welcome, Ruben.
Thank you, Ingrid.
I'm excited to have you here today.
Same here, thank you.
So what's your story? Tell me about Aggrandize Africa Group. Fancy name.
Thank you. So Aggrandize Africa Group basically is an agency that uses creative means to increase the status and wealth of Africa, to transform the narrative. You realize Africa has intense, massive potential, be it along lines of agribusiness, entrepreneurship, academic skills, name it, we have it all in Africa. But this potential is untapped. And we need it to be known, basically to change the narrative from what we hear day in, day out about Africa. So that's what we exist basically to do.
So to speak specifically, because I see the gap, I see the need. In the media, it's true, the stories that are told about the continent, even like when you travel out there, what people know about the continent is not exactly a direct depiction of what's actually on the continent. However, when you say you're changing the narrative, how exactly are you doing this and who are you working with?
Okay, so one of the focus areas when you talk about change the narrative, one of the major areas that comes to mind is economic empowerment. And you see, with economic empowerment, it cuts across all sectors. You might name people who are looking for employment, people who are in entrepreneurship, people who have special skills. Basically, you can fit every sector. If I'm an artist, that's a special skill, can double up as an entrepreneur. That could cut also in youth empowerment, because majority of the Africans, as you know, are the youth. And as the statement goes in, day in, day out, the youth are the ones who will change the tomorrow than future, basically, yes.
So my question is, take us back to where it all started. How did Aggrandize Africa come to be? How did you come up with this? Like, were you sleeping one day and you're like, you know what, I've had enough. I can't deal with the way Africa is portrayed anymore. How did you finally now materialize and bring Aggrandize Africa to be what it is today?
Okay, so I'll talk a bit about myself in this sense. I'm a marketer by profession. So when I was in campus, I used to sell. I studied marketing in campus, but as I was in campus, I also was a real estate agent, but not formally employed. Like I was, you could call them a briefcase agent.
Real estate agent.
Yes. So my way of practicing marketing was trying to sell property. So I would try source for clients. I go for class. Then when I'm free, I try sell a house. And in the process, I love networking. I'm very passionate about exchanging a business card. For me is not just the cliche way. I love making as many networks as possible. So that's why you'll notice if you're working with me in town, I greet so many people. You'll be wondering, actually guys make fun, you should run for office, things like that.
Mayor.
Yes. So in line with that, now me being a marketer, this aspect of networking, I'll relate it to campus. There was this unit we were doing called development studies. So the lecturer, I remember she was talking about how students from Norway would come, and she'd gone for an exchange program there. The students thought Africa was a place with mud houses, things like that. And she was telling us how people don't really know what exactly we have here. So those students happened to come to see her, and she lives in Rwanda. And they were thinking, you mean there are houses like this in Africa, in Kenya? I mean, how does this? So, and I saw this, if these people think like this, that's a gap. So tying that to my passion, that's where we came up with the concept of Aggrandize, basically, yes.
Now you mentioned that you tried out, like you were a marketer on campus, you used to sell real estate. Talk to me about your employment journey. How long did that take, and how did you feel about that? Would you try it again?
My employment journey is an interesting one. So after I graduated, I was an ISECer, the student body for Compass, yes. So I went for a global exchange in Botswana. And then I came back after clearing my exchange. Then I was thinking, now where do I start? How do I tap into my passion yet don't feel locked down? So luckily, fortunately, I got a job at Sanlam. That time we were called Pan-Africa Life. We used to sell insurance. So selling insurance still taps into my passion in the sense I get to network, I get to meet people, I get to practice my marketing, and still it gives me the leeway to pursue my other vision, entrepreneurship, basically this baby that I was thinking of at the time. So I worked for Sanlam since 2014, and then early 2018 I moved to Mombasa to do a tourism project. The first city sightseeing bus in Kenya. It's called Mombasa Sightseeing Bus. So I was doing marketing, basically setting up the operations for the bus, doing marketing for clients, basically just following my passion. Yes, but while I'm in employment at Sanlam, I also, since I was pushing this baby of mine, I did the Tony Lumelo application, the entrepreneurship. So they all bedded. Basically, it's just revolving around my passion.
Now let's talk about Aggrandize Africa. Tell me the journey in terms of, has it been smooth sailing? I mean, you saw a gap, you decided to get into this business, you had this prior experience in marketing that somehow fed into, you actually doing this. But, and every entrepreneur will tell you about now the journey to actually embarking on starting the business. What was your greatest lesson when it comes to running Aggrandize Africa Group?
I think that would have to be resilience. And of course, thinking long-term. Resilience, people think it's just a cliche that's thrown around. Entrepreneurship is never easy. People think I might agree with them, it's never easy because you have to dedicate lots of hours. You still have to take care of the bills now, like take care of the here and now, while you look for the long term. We use a joke and say, take care of the salary to pay your rent and things, but then look for the lump sums to buy the fridges, the microwave, to lamp your house, the cars, the water plots. So getting the balance around that, I think you need resilience for that, because very many times you get rejects, your things don't work out the way you want. Maybe you're running with something and then you find, someone did this I didn't know and they're way miles ahead of me. So now you start thinking, how do I do it differently? Right. And at times, if you really don't have the grit to see it through, at times your dream might die off, or you might. So resilience is one of the things you really need to embrace.
Have you gotten to a point where you felt like, this is now too much for me? Like, you talked about resilience being very, very key because it gets hard where you have to juggle a million things. Have you gotten to a point where maybe, and this question I'm looking for, your biggest loss? Like that point when you were running Aggrandize Africa, where things just fell apart, and at that point you're like, let me just go back into being a marketer. Let me go back into selling houses because, this is a lot more than I can take.
Yes. I think coming from an employment point of view, there's that comfort of a regular source of income at the end of the month. So now when you branch out, it means you're on your own. So you have to source for checks to keep you going. And at times, those checks don't come easy. And so I remember at a point, I'd cleared my honeymoon. I was sitting there with my wife, and we were joking. We were saying, we had, I think, 11 shillings between me and, I don't know if it's poverty.
11 shillings?
Yes, 11 Kenya shillings. Wow. And I remember that time we were saying, so now this 11 shillings, like, what do we do with this? But of course, the interesting thing is we were saying, one day we'll sit back and look back at this 11 shillings and laugh and say, it was worth that. So I think that might have been the biggest loss, because by that point, no client was coming through. And you still have to you still have to go around and search for more business here.
So you mentioned the wife. You mentioned trying to figure out the balance between work and everything. And as an entrepreneur, there are no work hours. Right? It's your business. You show up when you have to show up. How do you manage? How do you manage to juggle the two? If I'm someone who's trying to get into it, and I'm not really sure what to expect, what advice would you give me when it comes to maintaining a healthy work-life balance?
That's okay. Let me speak of the marriage first. If you're doing this as a married person, then it's very key to have a supportive spouse. There's that adage that says your spouse can make or break you. And it's actually true. Whoever you marry can make you or break your life. So thank God I got a very good wife who's supportive, pushes me. We pitch some of the meetings together, we share ideas, brainstorm, so that helps. As for the work hours, I think finding time to unwind is very key for me in this sense. At times, you feel really frustrated. And for me, how I blow off that steam is going to the gym. So I go really unwind by those weights. Just find that pressure point where you let off steam and then balance. As for scheduling time management has been very key for me. And I think when I learned this point, when you miss a plane, by those 2 minutes, or you miss a train, that's when you realize the importance of keeping time. So for me, time management has really been good. And when you look at it, we have 24 hours. That's a whole lot of time. But also depends on how you manage it again. Yes.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, when they decide, okay, I'm done with the whole employment story, I'm going into doing my own business. Usually when that works, they're tempted to go into the next thing. Like when you're an entrepreneur, you're always ready to just be innovative, go into the next thing. So Aggrandize Africa, that's the general body, that's the overall body. What else do you do?
Okay, so under Aggrandize Africa, we have a couple of, I could call them products or services. So one of the things, we're very passionate about youth empowerment, like I'd mentioned. So we have a platform called My Hustle. So My Hustle is a platform for all freelancers and entrepreneurs, basically we've availed a platform where they can all meet. So I'd give you an example. Let's say I bake cakes. One might think that's a red ocean because everyone can bake a cake. So I'm wondering, where can I get my clients? So I got this skill, I can get employed. But I can just log into the platform and list my services there, and from the ratings connect clients and they can get services. So we basically all hustles, home services, if you're a plumber, if you're a mechanic. Yes, for all freelancers basically. Yes, that's one of the services we do. Again, going back to our name, making grand, because we empower you, we make Africa grand. So that's aggrandizing your lifestyle. Sorry, let me just get this. Service number 2. We do events linked to aggrandizing again by changing the mindset. So like for instance, we're focused on a very big event coming up. It's called Ability Expo, the Aggrandize Africa Ability Expo. This is the first event with the theme harnessing economic opportunities for persons with disability. We realized last year Kenya and the UK co-hosted the first Global Disability Summit. And there were some commitments made from there that organizations are following through. So now we realized when you come across all these freelancers, youth, people, persons with disability, the playing field is not level. So we want to have a platform where all these opportunities, when you talk of economic opportunities again, like we had broken it down, companies have this agreement. They said they'll have 5% of their staff to be employees who have disabilities. So we bring them into a platform there. I'm looking for employees, and a person with disabilities is looking for employment. That's one of the platforms they can meet. Number 2, and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I need to know advice on taxation, issues to do with access to capital, how to start up. That's a platform. I have a special skill on a person with disability. Again, we want to bring all of them under one platform. So have it as a conference and an exhibitions basically. Yeah.
So Ruben, from your story, resilience, time management, having the right support system, those are very, very, very key when it comes to successfully running a business. We're coming back with this. So we'll now take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we return, I'll have my second guest with me, and trust me, this is one to watch. You're watching Entrepreneurs Lounge. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Lounge. Now, my next guest is 2016 Business Daily's Top 40 Under 40 finalist, founder of Young Entrepreneurs Expo Africa, also voted one of the most influential Kenyans at the moment. Wow, a lot of accolades there, if you ask me. Where do you want to start? Let's start with the Young Entrepreneurs Expo Africa. Tell us about the Young Entrepreneurs Expo Africa.
So Young Entrepreneurs Expo Africa, it's a platform that we created in 2014 out of need. And then it's something that we are facing at the moment. When we were starting off, there are quite a number of things we flopped. At some point we lost money because we didn't know about contracts and all that. We were suffering about on networks, capital and all that. So we said, let's do something for young entrepreneurs, something that young people could relate to, the problems they're facing. So it's a platform literally that brings young entrepreneurs and then industry players, guys that have been there, done the mistakes, maneuvered in the harsh economies and all that, and so it's literally young entrepreneurs, industry leaders, other strategic partners like banks, incubators and all that. So it's a 360 ecosystem for young entrepreneurs.
How long has this been in existence, and from when where you started up to where you are today? Because you mentioned there are a lot of things that happen in between in terms of lessons learned. Like, what would you say the story has been from where you started to where you are today?
It's been quite a good experience. One, entrepreneurship in Kenya has been in a very dynamic way, especially for young people. At least now you can go pitch even if you're 18, 16. The society is looking at young entrepreneurs from a different view, not like the way it was, the way our parents would tell us, go school, then get a job, then you can quit later. At least now we have very young people doing amazing stuff. And in our platform, I think it's one of the biggest actually in Kenya. Because the last one we had 2,200 entrepreneurs from across the country at KICC. And so this year we're doing our 6th edition as well. And we are targeting the same number, but we'll just add slightly 2,500. And the other one also, actually we had more than 150 exhibitors. And so normally it's been a growing platform. And challenges always keep on coming because every entrepreneurs are facing different issues.
Now, I want to be very specific because you mentioned that it's kept growing, and as a young entrepreneur, I just want to understand where the need was. You've mentioned a bit about it, but I want to understand how the Young Entrepreneurs Expo came into being. You know what I mean? How did you come up with this idea? How did you decide to give back to it? And where is the need? Where's the gap?
One, it's all about information. Entrepreneurship is all about just knowing the right thing, knowing the opportunities that exist, knowing about other people's stories. So literally for us giving back to young entrepreneurs, and at the same time helping them get the right tools for their businesses. So we're talking about investors, mentors, strategic partners and all that. So some of the companies that have been successful in our platform, if we help you get an investor, there's always a business model that you're involved in. Either we help you in technical assistance or become part of the shareholders in your company.
While doing this, while working with different young entrepreneurs, obviously networking, listening to the different stories, what has been your greatest lesson? What has been your most gratifying moment when doing the Young Entrepreneurs Expo? Because this is an annual event, yes? So what would you say is the one thing that keeps you going? Like, because we get this much, like, what's your biggest lesson?
My biggest lesson has been, one, we need on the need to make it more sustainable. So in the process of creating an incubator, most incubators in Kenya are all about IT, but the guys in fashion, they also need a hand up. The guys in construction. So we are coming up with an incubator that covers all sectors. And again, we're not just looking at Kenya. We're looking how can we collaborate with with other partners across Africa, doing the same thing. So at least you can replicate something that is successful in Nigeria and bring it probably Kenya. Because there are businesses that will do well in other countries but are not doing well in Kenya. So how do you integrate all that so that even if you have an idea it's not working out in Kenya, how can you plug it in another country?
10 years from now, what's your dream? What's your goal for Young Entrepreneurs Expo? Where would you like to see it?
For me personally, at some point I want to become a venture capitalist. Just travel, see what young people are doing in Kenya.
What's a venture capitalist for our audience out there that maybe you might say with this gentleman using fancy words?
Venture capitalist is where you invest in people's ideas, then you have a stake in the company. There you have people like Richard Branson doing the same thing. Just the way you'll see probably a Shark Tank. So that will be, that's where I want for my self-actualization, because entrepreneurship is not easy. And there's so many young people with brilliant ideas, very brilliant ideas, but they never get a chance to get exposure. And the idea fades away because one, nobody believes in them. Nobody has seen what they can do. So I want to be that person that, hey, I have an idea. Can I see you, David? You come pitch, I get you the right tools, invest in your company, and help you grow.
You've said it yourself, entrepreneurship is not easy. So on a personal level as David, in all your entrepreneurship ventures, what would you say have been your greatest challenges? Like for someone who's running a business, like if I decide I'm going to go into this, what would you give me as words of caution when it comes to challenges, obstacles in entrepreneurship?
Same challenges everybody talks about. Corruption, lack of capital, lack of good networks. But one of my greatest challenges has been stereotype. When I started, I was pretty young, and so nobody will believe a young person can deliver. So there's always this stereotype that, Chief, you need to grow up first, get to your 40s or past 30, then now you can start telling us what you're telling us right now. And when you look at economies like America, people start stuff even when they're like as little as 8, 7, So stereotype has been a serious challenge, especially in Kenya.
It wouldn't be fair to have this interview and not talk about some of your achievements, because like when you're doing business, when you're doing your own thing, validation, it does play a key role in making you feel like, okay, you know what, I'm on the right track, I'm doing the right thing, I'm being noticed. Finalist, business dailies, top 40, under 40. Let's talk about that.
So I will say I was lucky enough. 2016, I was the youngest top 40 under 40 man in Kenya. Early this year, there's a Advance Media from Ghana. They were running a survey on top most influential young Kenyans, and I was lucky. I was number 24 amongst. It was a list of the most influential Kenyans, literally young influential Kenyans. So that has been me. My next stop, I'm hoping to achieve Forbes probably in a couple of years, less than 5. Then, yeah.
Okay, pretty smug, huh? No, but then, without just mentioning the awards, what do these awards mean? Because we want the young entrepreneur out there who's aspiring to also be in the same position that you're in to fully understand what this is about. What do they look out for in terms of just giving you a boost, whether it's in terms of being confident in what you're doing? What do these accolades mean in line with entrepreneurship?
When you're running a business, one of the key thing somebody will seek for, credibility. Right. Nobody wants to put their money a place whereby they can't have they can't sleep during the night because they're worried about whether they're going to deliver or not. So credibility is key. And so the awards give you quite a mileage, actually. I would say personally it has helped me grow, given me clients, given me more partners. So they are key. But you see, we can't all win awards. But what I'll tell any young entrepreneurs is just focus on one thing. Be good at one thing that people know you for. Most of the time is when if I'm in Kenya, I'm an IT person. I'm selling furniture. I'm doing M-Pesa. I'm doing. So you'll find most people do literally a jack of all trades. You've not specialized in one thing. when you look at the most influential, most successful entrepreneurs in the world, they're just known for one thing. Zuckerberg, just Facebook, social media. When you look at Bezos, just focusing on just e-commerce, period. Jack Ma, e-commerce, just known for one thing. But in Kenya, you find you want to do everything, and that never works. So it's good to specialize as well.
So David, started out young, young entrepreneur, helping other young entrepreneurs. Part of your main forte, want to become a venture capitalist. In the future, like, still want to stay within the line of just hand-holding other entrepreneurs to make sure that they make it. Very impressive work. It's time for the quick fire round, and in this round we'll ask 5 random questions, and my guests will have a chance in 5 seconds to answer these 5 random questions, and at the end of it all, the person with the highest, or rather the most correct answers, is our quick fire round winner. Ruben, you can do this. So, ready guys? Quick fire question number 1. What is the world's biggest automaker? Auto means car. I would like to get the question out fully before you answer. So to repeat the question, what's the world's biggest automaker? Wrong.
Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi.
Correct. Nissan, Renault, Mitsubishi, or sometimes it's called the Nissan Renault Alliance. 1 point to Ruben. Quick fire question number 2. What is the world's biggest Fortune 500 company? The world's biggest Fortune 500 company. Any guesses?
Microsoft?
No.
Walmart.
Walmart, that's correct. Wow, Ruben, you studied. 2 points for Ruben, 0 points for David. Quick fire question number 3. What is the world, according to the results from 2018, what's the top tourist destination in the world? According to the 2018 results, what's the top tourist destination of 2018? No.
Spain.
No. It's France. Well, you tried. The one of Spain was much closer, the one of Dubai, than the one of Dubai, going by the regions. Question number 4, and the second last question. David, you have a lot of catching up to do. Ruben, you have 2 points ahead of David. Question number 4. What's the world's highest coffee consumer? Which country is the world's highest consumer of coffee? It starts with F. And it's not France. What is the world's 5 seconds, guys, wild guess.
Finland.
Yes! Finland. David, you're not even trying. 3 points. You know, at this point, honestly, I feel like we already know who the winner is. But just so you don't walk away with 0 points, David, I'll ask the last and final question, which is a giveaway, really. It's a very easy one. The final question in this quick fire round is, which country is the world's biggest coffee producer?
Brazil?
Yes. Finally, you're about to walk away here. You're about to do the walk of shame of this set. So at the end of the day, David, you put up a not very impressive fight, but still you put up a fight. So our quick fire winner today is none other than Ruben Kingori. So on the show today, we had 2 very inspiring entrepreneurs dealing in very different things. Ruben, Aggrandize Africa, trying to change the narrative on the continent, and then we have David just trying to help young entrepreneurs out there, you know, through capital, through equipping them with the right skill set, through equipping them with the right networks. So as a young entrepreneur out there, it can be done. That's all the show I had for you today on Entrepreneurs Lounge. And remember, we were filming at Dotage Exclusive Furniture in Westlands, your home for all furniture needs. I've been your host, Ingrid Nantege. Don't go anywhere.